Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of My EdTech Life. I am excited to be here with you all on this beautiful Saturday morning, and hopefully, anywhere in the world that you are joining us from, or anywhere here in the United States, your day is off to just a great start. Whether you're having breakfast, maybe lunch, or it's dinner, or it maybe even Sunday. I don't know, but thank you so much for joining us. And as always, making My EdTech Life what it is today. As you know, our mission, our vision, and our passion is to connect educators, education professionals, and creators one show at a time. And of course, I am very excited because today I have two of my favorite educators and two of my favorite creators here on the show. And now these two have teamed up to create an amazing podcast where we have where they have real conversations about everything going on in education. So I'm just really excited to welcome to the show Mr. Chad Pettit, who is no stranger to the show. He has been here before, and you can check out that previous episode as we talk about getting unstandardized. And first time here on the show, Mr. Brett Colley. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing this morning?
Excited to be here, Fonz. Thanks for having me back, man.
Real happy, Fonz. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me out.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys and gentlemen. It's always an honor and a pleasure. Like I said, my passion is to connect with like minded educators and, of course, people that are not afraid to put themselves out there and share at least their experiences so we can help others that may be going through those experiences and just letting them know, hey, you're not alone in this. We see what's happening and what can we try and do to change those things and continue to change the education landscape for the better. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started. So let's give a brief intro. And this time, since we have Mr. Brett Colley, who is a first timer, we'll start with Mr. Brett Colley. Mr. Brett Colley, if you can give us a little introduction, your context in education. And if you don't mind, maybe telling us something interesting about yourself that people may not know.
Oh boy, that's going to be a tough one. So we'll start with the brief introduction. So Brett Colley, I am a fourth year teacher. I teach sixth grade ancient civilizations, and I absolutely love doing that. It took me a while to get to where I wanted to be for education and teaching, but I'm here. So we made it. And something that people don't know about me, I'm an absolute Lord of the Rings junkie.
All
True,
right.
folks. It's true, folks.
Chad knows that.
He gets all my references.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Brett. And Chad, if you can go ahead and give us a little brief intro as well, your context and education for all our listeners.
Yeah, so I'm a seventh year ELA teacher. I teach high school and at early college in the Lone Star State. Don't hold that against me. Uh, I'm not from Texas, but I got here as quickly as I could. I was in the military for a while and I stayed here, and now I'm a teacher. And let's see, something interesting about me. I don't know. I put my entire private life out there on the internet for the world to see. So I'm short. Most people don't realize that.
Excellent. And by short, what are we talking about? Like 5'7", 5'9",
I'm
6?
I'm 5'9".
Oh, 5'9". Hey,
Uh,
well, you're an inch taller than I am. There you go. So now I'm short. There we go. Well,
and that's
gentlemen,
5'8" for Fonz.
there
You're
you
right.
go. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all. And as always, like I mentioned in the introduction, you guys are just some amazing creators, and myself just being a person who's joined TikTok a little bit later in the game, but just been able to find amazing creators such as yourself because you guys create content around what it is that you're seeing through your classrooms, through your experience, and so on. And we know that it has been a whirlwind here in the education landscape for the past couple of years. So one of the things that I do enjoy is how you do share those experiences and you're being open and honest. And like Chad said, there really isn't anything that people may not know because he really puts everything out there. And when I say everything, he really does. But to me, it's something that is inspiring because sometimes you don't know what people may be going through, and
Right.
that really helps me see things through a different perspective, and really just, hey, let me go check up on some people, let me see what's happening, let me see what's going on. And of course, Mr. Colley as well, putting himself out there, and his kiddos and everything that he's doing. And it's just amazing, what you guys have done. And now I want to talk about your project that you have done, all right, and created. But before I do that, because I was out for 2 weeks, as you can tell, I'm a little bit out of podcast shape. Usually I like to ask, did you always want to be an educator or go into education? So let's start with Mr. Colley first. All right, Brett, were, was education your first, like, hey, this is my plan, this is what I want to do, or was it something that you kind of landed in?
Now, for me, education was something I wanted to do. The only problem is it took a very long time for me to re-understand that after I graduated high school. But yeah, education was always the forefront of my mind.
Excellent. Now, what did you do prior to coming into education?
I worked in retail for about 14 and a half years, whether that was selling cell phones, cars, motorcycles, working for the retail division in Microsoft. I did it.
Excellent. So retail, sales, marketing. So you already had those people skills then. So that's something that's great. Customer
I like to
service.
think so. Yeah.
All right. And Chad, how about yourself? Was education your first like choice and say, yeah, this is what I want to do immediately? I know you said you mentioned you were in the military. So was this something that you said, hey, you know what? After doing what I'm doing here, I'm gonna go into the different kind of trench maybe and go into education.
Yeah, that kind of was my plan. When I graduated high school, my plan was military, law enforcement, and then in my 40s, I would land in education. I'm in my 40s, and I landed a little earlier, but I never got into law enforcement. So, yeah, it's a little bit of both, but I didn't land where I thought I would.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Now, let me ask you something too, because this is a question that I always like to ask because now I see that, our roads very similar. Education, we landed maybe a little bit later, and so we've had previous experience, whether it was in sales like myself and Brad, and then of course Chad, you had the military experience and then coming into education. And I want to ask you this with all honesty, because I know I see it, but I don't know if you guys see it. But do you notice a difference between, a teacher that has gone straight through college of education, coming out with their degree in education and going into the classroom, and somebody that has had previous experience, whether it's sales, private sector, and then coming in? Do you notice a difference in maybe the way we see things in education and maybe even, classroom management, things of that sort? So we'll start with Chad first. Is there anything that you would say, man, I'm really different than some of the people that did go straight through, college of ed?
To a degree, I would hate to make a general statement across the
Mhm.
board and say yes,
Mhm.
100%. But I do think there is a certain level of resilience that just comes with not even necessarily I did this prior or that prior, just having more years of experience in the adult world,
Mhm.
um, and experiencing some hardships as an adult. Obviously, kids go through hardships. Everybody goes through hardships in life,
Yeah.
but going through hardships as an adult, big difference. And going through hardships as an adult, as a married person with children, those sorts of things, it's different. And so there's a certain level of resilience that I think teachers who have gone in different career paths prior to being in education, they kind of have. But there definitely is always going to be that one person who, right out of high school, college, into education, is just naturally resilient. So, again, not a general statement, but I do think it's just the resilience piece.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's a great question. And again, I'm just curious in asking that because I know a lot of the guests that I've had have not gone through that immediately out of high school, go straight into the college of ed. They've had other experiences and then they land in education. And, just like what you mentioned, I think it's a little bit of that resiliency there. And how about you, Brad? What are some of the things that maybe you feel that thanks to the experience that you had prior into coming into the classroom have been very well translated into your practice?
Like Chad, I mean, I don't want to make a sweeping generalized statement. But I think the one difference that somebody who maybe waits a little bit of time before going right in and has a little bit more of that real world experience can have some better, I wouldn't say classroom management, I'll say adult management, the ability to work in the harder aspect of dealing with whether it's coworkers or parents or admin who may or may not get a little bit disgruntled, and being able to handle that aspect of things. Where when I was going through my teacher certification, no teacher, professor talks to you about stuff like that at all. You don't really hear about that side of things. We're always here for the children. We don't talk about the adult aspect of teaching. So I think there is some advantage to having some real world experiences prior to jumping into your teacher certification, just from that aspect, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the way that you put that, Brad. It's the adult management that is so true. You know, I never thought about that, thought about it that way, but just the way that came out and rolled out, I was like, oh yeah, it's like I just kind of had like a little light bulb moment there. So thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. Really appreciate it. Well, I know that now you guys have teamed up. You started an amazing podcast. Like I was, listening to the most recent episode, and hopefully both of you guys are wearing shoes this morning for this podcast. But if you're not, it's okay. No worries if you're not wearing shoes. It's all good. It's Saturday morning. No big deal, right? But so you guys started a podcast called Education Reclaimed, and I want to hear the backstory about this because I know through you guys met through TikTok, and then listening to this last episode, I really enjoyed that story. So if you can tell me a little bit about how that connection came about through TikTok, and then just kind of said, hey, you know what, we've got something going on here, let's team up. So let's go ahead and get started here with Chad. Give me your side of the story as to how you guys connected.
I was just gonna say, you've got to get this from Brett.
Okay. Then we'll do that. Brett, let's go ahead and go with Brett here. Brett, let's go ahead and see how you guys connected.
All right, so I'm scrolling the TikToks one day, and I come across this handsome bearded gentleman, and it was a topic of tell me something that someone was going to hate you for, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And he stops and stares right into the camera and goes, I don't like flare pens. And right. And as educators, we all know that there's a lot of us out there that far outnumber the G2 clan that love our flare pens. So I made a video. I stitched him and made a video and just dogged him for it. And then a back and forth started. A very fun, we made characters up. We had the Beard Lord. We had, what was the other one's name?
Oh my gosh. I forgot, man.
Oh, I'm
gonna
have to go back and watch these.
Archimedes.
And we just had back and forth. And it just turned into, we went back and forth. We had the Bearded Teachers Association of America, and we had all this going on, and it just turned into a really, really good friendship where we understood we could make fun of each other at wit's end, and the other person wouldn't care because we knew there was no malice behind it. It was all in fun and games. It was all to make people laugh. And that's how the relationship started, because this guy says he hated flare pens.
Yeah, it's like one day I get this stitch, and I'm looking, there's this bear of a man showering himself with flare pens. And I've never been more complete in my life.
That is amazing. And that's the power of social media. I mean, honestly, right now, just the way that Brett is talking about this connection, I mean, that's really what I'm trying to do here through this show, but just to be able to see it that you guys, something that happened so organically through some as a topic just on flare pens, and you've made this connection, and now you are friends from, Chad and I both here in Texas. Brett, you're over there in the West Coast, and
Best
we're
Coast,
here.
baby.
We're here connected. We're here connected, and we're having genuine conversations and building up genuine friendships and things of that sort.
Absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
that's the best part. This is amazing. That's what I love. So, Chad, tell me a little bit like how what was your first thing? As far as now you've got this, glorious bearded man showering himself with pens. You said you became complete, and then after that, everything just clicked.
It was so weird. Like we've talked, and it was like, at what point did we start talking back and forth to each other? Like it was videos, and I don't. Neither of us knows, but I did the flare pen thing, and then it was an all out assault on little old Chad from the entire world of teacher talk, and Brett was leading that charge. So, and then Brett started the Bearded Teachers Association of America, and I did a video just tongue in cheek, shadowed with my hoodie on and saying not even talking and saying the Beard Lord approves. And this guy comes out and attacks my Beard Lord title. He comes out, he attacks my title. How dare you call yourself and if you don't know, Brett does amazing voices. Brett's got a voice that just like he could do audiobooks. And so if you're strapped for cash, my friend, you know what to do. You already got the mic.
True.
So I was like, okay, no, absolutely not. So I started doing the Beard Lord, but I couldn't maintain my serious persona all the way through the video. And so it just turned into this total mess. And somehow I ended up with this guy's phone number and we're texting back and forth. And, and now we got a podcast. I don't get it.
From me yelling at him, you dare call yourself the Beard Lord?
See, there it is.
And then to his Archimedes, I was done.
Mr. Colley.
I was done.
And this is great. I love it. The way that you just made that connection and now you're texting back and forth. And if you haven't heard their episodes, guys, you definitely need to go check out Education Reclaimed, which is now what we're kind of going to be talking about. So let me know, gentlemen, how did this idea come into fruition?
Chad?
Yeah, so Education Reclaimed originally was going to be mine, and then Brett stole it and took the limelight.
Yeah.
So, no, it was, I talk a lot on my TikTok about the outside noise, the assaults, the attacks we get as teachers. In March of 2020 and April of 2020, we were the heroes. Right. And then 5 minutes later, we became public enemy number one. It was great when the pandemic was at the height, but then it became teachers are lazy. They don't want to be back in the classroom. That was a lie. Virtual teaching was the hardest thing I've ever done. I couldn't wait to get back in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And there was just all this stuff mounting up. And then I started talking about the problem of standardized education. And I started realizing as I posted my videos, just how universal my experience was for teachers across not even the country, but the world. I've got people from Australia saying, yep, we're dealing with that too, and things like that. So I got to a point where I was very, very defeated. And people don't know, when I was at the height of my TikTok taking off, I was in the worst mental state I've been in my entire life. I had a complete mental breakdown. Like, not like, oh, I have a mental break. No, legit, I had a mental breakdown. And I was in therapy. And as I was sitting in a therapy session, the therapist looked at me and said, okay, so everything's falling apart and you don't have any control. Okay. What you can always do is reclaim one breath at a time. And that just hit me at the exact moment that I needed it to hit me. She said, when everything around you is falling apart, you can stop and reclaim your breath. And so that led to this thought process of, okay, I can reclaim my breath. Now what else can I reclaim? And I started thinking, we as educators need to reclaim what we can. We need to reclaim our classroom management, our curriculum, our relationships with our students. We need to reclaim our stake in the education world and get involved in the conversations. And so people were like, you need to do a podcast. And I said, sure, I'm just crazy enough to do it. And then Brett and I were talking, and I was really overwhelmed at the time. And he said, hey, you want to do a podcast together? And I was like, and here we go. The universe just falls into place once more. And so we started doing it together, and it's been one of the best experiences ever to be able to do this show together and meet the people we get to meet and talk to the people we get to talk to.
It's very cathartic in a way to listen to know, because at the same time, like Chad and I blew up at the same time. And so when he was going, like, we as teachers, we struggle, and it's weird to, I don't know, for me, it's weird to say that out loud, just because I really only ever really talk about that with Chad or my wife, who's also a teacher. But last year was tough. Last year was tough for a lot of us coming back into school and going with everything that we had going on. I mean, I had my struggles as well, but to hear that it's not isolated for me is one of the biggest keys, I think. So being able to talk with the guests that we have coming on, and hearing that they had their struggles and everything else that they had going on, I think really, for me, kind of keyed up my passion to keep going forward and keep doing what I do on my end.
And see, and that's one thing that I love about, excuse me, what you guys are doing, because yeah, a lot of people were in those places that many people may not know about. I mean, and I've been honest with, some of my friends, telling them, like, last year I was not myself, because be going straight into virtual, I was like, hey, I'm a fish in water here, because I had just finished up my master's in educational technology. Is like, all right, good. Like, and you feel in control. And then that whole year goes by, but you're working till 10, you're working till 11, because there's teachers that are, scared, they're worried, they're concerned. You're creating stuff for them, you're helping them out. And then after that, you're good. But I didn't realize how unhealthy I was, physically. It started taking a toll physically, mentally, where, that I was feeling that burnout last year. And to work with burnout and trying to take care of that burnout, and then you're still having to manage your job, it gets tricky. So I would imagine, you going through that as well. And then the educators that you guys bring on are also doing that. And for the first time, I mentioned this at a training this past week. I said, you know what, for the first time in the last 2 years, I actually feel like I have my feet under me, like I got my sea legs back, and I'm excited. And when I did see that TikTok with Chad, and talking about, reclaiming your breath, and he just started taking off with it, I was like, it kind of goes with what I want to do. Like, I want to just kind of get 1% better every day. But in what can I do to improve myself, to give a better version of me to others? And, being able to work with teachers and the adults and sharing those things, but also at the same time, being inspired to say, hey, there's some changes that we need to make here. And maybe some of the decisions that are being made may not be the best, because we're not getting enough input. So those are some of the things that a lot of teachers right now are dealing with. And we kind of talked a little bit about it pre-chat. And I know, Chad, I recently saw a TikTok, I think, what was it, maybe in the last couple of days, where you had a drawn out description of some of the PD, or at least the length of PD that you guys do, and so on. So tell us a little bit about that, at least that experience, what you go through in your school district as far as professional development before the school year starts.
Yeah. I can honestly say that no matter how much rest I get in the summertime, I am exhausted on the first day of school because of a 2-week long professional development teacher in service time. And it is just an onslaught of sitting in a chair for 8 hours with a lunch break, which is great. I appreciate the lunch break, but it's 4 hours of sit and get. It's PowerPoints. It's an inundation of emails. It's confusion figuring out schedules. It's going to this training in this location. It's going over here. It's having this consultant come in. It's 2 solid weeks in almost no time to plan, no time to go in your classroom and set up your classroom. And by the time the first day starts, we're stressed out, we're exhausted, and we're just like, I don't have it in me to to do all the things I'm supposed to do. So I'm starting out depleted. And when you start out in energy deficient state and then not have the time to recover, that's where you go. So people say, oh, teachers get summers off. And I think people, I didn't get the summer off. I worked the entire summer. And then I came in for the professional development in service. And by day one, I was worn out. Now I'm doing good because my students are amazing this year. There's something different about this year. And I'm like you, Fonz.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I've got my feet under my, I got my sea legs now for the first time in a couple years. And so that's going well. But yeah, it's different.
Yeah. Brett, how about yourself? Let me know how you're feeling this year, or what your take is.
So yeah, exhausted. Summertime, I'm constantly like, even though I'll go out and do things, I have my computer, I have my phone, I'm constantly looking at things, trying to make things better. So by the time we get back to school, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Now, unlike Chad, we don't have 2 full weeks of back to school prep for teachers and personal development. We have a 3-day period the week before we bring students back, in which we have basically 3 different days. We have like a team directed day, a district directed day, and then an individual day. And my district kind of did it to break it up a little bit this year. We had a half day of PD, then a half day of individual time. Then the next day was a full district directed day where we were learning about supporting our multilingual students. And then we had the other half of the department day and individual day. So they did a good job in bringing us back and not over inundating us. But do I feel like I have my sea legs yet? No, I'm getting there. But like Chad said, the kids, there's something different with the kids this year. My 6th graders last year, oh boy, off the chain. Absolutely. I don't know where some of the stuff they were coming from, but they did it anyway. This group this year is more down there. They seem to get it more this year. And before we even started going over rules and regulations and expectations in the class, they were already following them. They're in their seat. They're quiet. They're respectful. They know when to tell a joke and when to not. And they know when to stop doing what they're not supposed to be doing. I was like, okay, this is going to be fun.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So hopefully I get my feet under me soon. And, Chad's been back at it. I know you guys down in Texas have been back at it for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, we just finished week 3.
Yeah.
I finished day 3 yesterday. So we're just getting started. So hopefully by the time we do curriculum, I'll be ready to go.
There you go. And, going back to what you gentlemen were saying, we had a curriculum rollout, and I was talking to some of the teachers, and I did an Instagram live earlier, and I was just sharing with people, there's some excitement in the teachers. I mean, at least some of the ones that I've talked to, they're like, you know what, like, this is going to be a good year. Like, they came in, and I guess maybe they're just, again, feeling like they're getting their sea legs back, and they were just genuinely excited. And then when I talk to them now, in a very similar way, they're saying, hey, there's just something different. Like, the kids, they're different. And in my thing, I was thinking, well, I think now that for us here in Texas and in our school district, last year was the first full year of back, like, full on brick and mortar. So they kind of, that muscle memory for the kids too, that structure, some of the rules, some of the things and so on. And then coming back into this year, they're like, oh, okay, like, I know what to expect. And so I don't know. I want to attribute a little bit to that, but also, like, teachers just kind of like, hey, you know what? We got that last year out of the way, and now again for teachers as well, just kind of like, all right, we're good. And so I did, I would say that there are a couple of teachers that I did talk to that did reclaim their joy for what they're doing. And even myself too included, I was just like, man, this is going to be an amazing year. And I'm going to try and make it as amazing as I can, not only for myself, but for those around me. But as always, we do know that you may be coming in like this, but we do see barriers. We do see things. And we can't deny that, at all whatsoever. So some of those things and decisions and so on do affect us as educators, and of course affect our teachers as
Right.
well. So just I want to talk a little bit more about that. So and of course this does tie into your podcast as well. So tell us a little bit more about the mission that you're trying to achieve, the connections that you're making, and maybe just from your standpoint too, through your guests, what are some of the common things that you're seeing, common themes that teachers are finding to be a barrier for them?
Go ahead,
We'll
Brett.
start with Chad.
Oh, okay. I got you. So I think one of the biggest things that we're noticing, and I really want to work to put a stop to this. Now I am critical in my TikTok of administration. I very, and people misconstrue that sometimes. So they say, "What does your administration think?" I'm going to be clear for the entire world. My administrators follow me. Like, they send me TikToks where they're aware of mine. We talk about it, and I know they know I'm not targeting them. With that being said, there is a major disconnect between administration and teachers.
Yes.
And I think one of the big problems is the administrators have not been in a classroom for any length of time during this pandemic. And we've gone through 3 major phases where we were completely out of the buildings and totally virtual, to where we were hybrid in the buildings. And when we were back, and then kind of mid-year, the masks came off in some places, and the virtual thing was gone, at least for most people. And so we ended last year kind of on the, we're back in school for a few weeks. And it was that. But administrators are still in the mindset of where they were when they were in the classroom, if they were ever in a classroom, and not realizing the changes that have taken place, and not realizing the level of trauma that teachers have been through, that students have been through, that collectively society has been through. Those traumas play out in the classroom in a big way, and we're not trained to handle it.
No.
All right. Brett, how about yourself?
I mean, he hit the nail on the head with that description. I think I'll go to another part of the question that you were asking is, my hope in doing Education Reclaimed with Chad here is to let teachers out there know, all over the world, if we can reach that far, if we can reach our true pinky in the brain global domination phase, that it's okay to struggle in the job. That if you are sitting there and you've hit an obstacle and you can't get over it, you can't get around it, it's okay, because there's people out there who've hit that same exact obstacle who can help you get through it, or help you manage it to make the stress of that obstacle less life controlling. And that is, for me, where I really hope we can get with this podcast is, I know teachers are struggling everywhere, and they're not going to admit it. But to hear 2 bearded men come out and say, we struggle, because we all know that sometimes one of the big keys on TikTok is, men don't say when we're not okay. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And so to have 2 men come out and be secure in saying, we're not okay, we weren't okay, we're getting better, this is how we're doing it, this is what we can do to control our own personal lives and make our lives manageable, it carries some weight behind it. And to me, that's where I see us going.
That's excellent. And I love that. We definitely need more educators such as you both, and to be out there and advocating, for our profession. And, one thing that I love, about your podcast and the podcast description says reclaim their passion and joy for education. And like I mentioned to you guys earlier, education was something that I never wanted to go into. And I keep saying that over and over again. Never wanted to. I wanted to go into business. I worked in business. I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to do those things. Fork in the road moment comes. I land in education, and I absolutely fell in love with this profession. And I continue to grow in this profession and continue to learn. And I see some of the things that are happening, like Chad mentions, obviously the outside world influencing what's happening and the perception and so on. And for myself, it's like I just want to give back to this profession that has given me so much, that is such a noble profession. And to have educators such as yourself that have carry a weight in your voice and what you're sharing, I absolutely love it. And I hope that more educators connect with you all, see your TikToks, and listen to your podcast. But I think that's the one thing that I really love, that description just is so fitting for myself and maybe for a lot of teachers. And I'm glad that you guys are doing it, and helping us reclaim our joy and our passion for the profession that we love. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to add that. Chad, you're like, oh man, oh, you're just mesmerized by what I just said. That's what it looks like to me.
No, well, you're very well spoken, Fonz. Yeah, no, it's inspiring to sit back and see people talking about them being inspired.
Yeah.
And seeing educators getting that, when I post videos and I say, I'm not, I said this in one video, I'm not toxic positivity, but I am positive that I don't want to live in bitterness anymore.
Yeah.
And seeing that resonate with people, and seeing teachers come out and say, you know what, yes, there are a ton of problems in this profession and it's still a struggle, but I'm going to control what I can control, and I'm going to reclaim my passion one step at a time. And seeing people like you that are getting buy-in with the message and feeling the change, it's like, wow, we're making a difference. And that's what we want.
Exactly. That's what we all want. So thank
Mhm.
you guys. And Brett, what are your thoughts too as well? I mean, like I said, watching you guys on TikTok is just amazing, because you bring in the funny, you bring in the serious, and you have a wide mix of everything that you're doing. But I think, Brett, just that inspiration component, how does it feel to bring or be an inspiration to others?
I don't know yet. Chad can tell you, my wife can tell you, I don't really think about myself in that light. I'm the kind of guy who I will put out a burning building while I am on fire before I deal with myself. So to have that kind of intrinsic look into myself and go, wow, I mean, I have this gentleman here saying that I'm inspiring in an aspect is kind of, I don't know, it feels weird. It's a warm, tingly feeling that I'm not used to. No, it's good though. It's good that there are messages that I'm trying to put out there, not just funny or humorous messages that we see on my TikTok, but there are messages that I want to get out there that I do know are starting to gain some traction, and people are really starting to see that. And to me, that does make me feel good that people are really starting to understand what it is I'm trying to put out there. I have a something that I'm trying to get back is my stop bullying movement. And because I work in middle school, and they are some of the sharpest tongued demons in the world. And I mean that with all love and respect, if any of my students ever find this podcast, but they know how to hit somebody to the core. And so bringing that awareness out there is just something I want more and more of, and helping teachers reclaim their passion with Chad, and switching Chad over to flare pens from G2 gels.
Nope.
This is what's going on here.
I'm a Sharpie guy. I'm a Sharpie pen kind of guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Sharpie, that's almost psychopath level.
Sorry,
I'm getting
guys.
Dexter vibes right now.
Yeah, I'm a Sharpie pen kind of guy. So yeah, myself. But gentlemen, like I said, I really admire the work that you're doing, and I just ask you just continue just bringing that fire and that passion that you have, because again, we definitely need more educators like that, and I'm always thrilled to connect with educators such as yourself, because again, like I mentioned, and I'll say it again, it inspires me to know that there's other people out there that are trying to convey the same message. And going back to what Chad's saying, controlling what we can. And I kind of always remember my days back in the classroom, where I just remember once I close that door, I am in control. I am the captain of that ship. But it was always when I opened that door where I was just felt like I was just bogged down and that ship was sinking because of all that additional stuff that comes in from the outside as far as, administrative stuff that you got to do and, this and that. But, once that door closes, it's like, hey, I am the captain of this ship, and I'm going to definitely navigate through these waters and take my kids, on an amazing journey and an amazing learning experience. And so taking that and thanks to you guys also, like I said, reminding me of that, now it's time to revisit that feeling again, where in this current role this year, third weekend, to remind myself of those things, that you control what you can, be the captain of that ship, navigate those waters, and continue on with our journey. And it's going to be a long journey. There's going to be a lot of rough waters, but we'll definitely get there together. And with gentlemen like yourself and other educators that are out there on TikTok and, on Twitter, that are out there helping each other out and inspiring others, we can definitely do something for our educator community to continue to help what we can in improving the education landscape and to continue to move that education needle forward. So thank you to both of you gentlemen for being here this morning and having a great fun chat. It was great to be back after 2 weeks of not podcasting and to come back to have both of you on as my first guests after that break. I feel like I got my podcasting legs back today, and I definitely had a great time. So thank you both.
Thank you, Fonz. It was a great time.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. But before we end, this is my favorite segment, and this is I'm sorry. Let me add something here. Amanda Macias, thank you for joining us. She says nothing compares to Mr. Sketch Markers. # just saying. And we've got Sherry, who always joins us on LinkedIn, who says Mr. Sketch Markers for me as well. So, yeah. What are those vibes there?
I mean, those give me personally the kindergarten teacher vibes that just the kindergarten teacher vibes from Happy Madison Productions. What was the name of the movie?
Billy Madison?
Billy Madison. Yeah. Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Where she was just all kind of in her own little world. had the Mr. Sketch that she. And, I mean, it takes me back to kindergarten because that's when I fell in love with Mr. Sketch. But nice. I don't know. I mean, Mr. Sketch. I don't know.
All right, guys. Well, before we end the show, this is one of my favorite segments because we definitely get to have just a little seriousness and then ending with a little bit more lightheartedness, but just to get to know you all better. And so this time, since we've got Brett here as a first-time guest, we will go ahead and start with Brett, and then we'll move to chat, and we'll do that through all the questioning. So, Brett, in the current state of education, what would you say is your current kryptonite?
Oh, curriculum. Let me expand. Lack thereof of proper curriculum to teach my subject the way I want to teach it. To me, it's killer. If you don't have all the pieces, there's a lot that doesn't make sense in history.
All right. Good answer. Good answer. Chad, I know when you were here previously on the show, you did mention, I don't know what your current kryptonite was at that time. I don't know if anything has changed, but to you, what is your current kryptonite?
Paperwork. I feel like that's so loaded. I could do really, really well if I never had to do any kind of documentation, but documentation, I get better every year. And I start out with great intentions, but by week 4, I'm like drowning in paperwork.
Fair.
Yeah, that's a great question. Or a great answer, I should say. I get it. I remember I used to have those stacks of, documents, and it's like, okay, every 6 weeks or progress report, it's like you have to fill it out for these kids, and then of course every 6 weeks here's another report and so on. And that's what I mentioned, when you open that door, that's what comes in. And like you said, I agree with you. Paperwork is definitely a big one. All right, Brett, here we go. Next one. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Oh boy. Honestly, it would just be my face saying greetings, historians.
Like it. And with a flare pen.
With the whole bunch of flare pens raining.
We're just going to keep coming with the same front punch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I'm gonna get your address. I'm gonna send you something, Chad.
All right, Chad, what would you say? What would you put on your billboard?
Vote pro education.
All right. Simple, fair enough. Great message.
God, make me look like the jerk right now. Thanks, Chad.
Well, that's what you get for throwing flare pins in the conversation.
Fair.
All right. And Brett and Chad, this last question is for obviously for both of you. So I guess you guys each get a turn since you guys are also podcast hosts. So let's say that the tables were turned and this morning this was your podcast and I was your guest. Brett, what would be one question you'd like to ask me?
I'm going to steal the easy one. What advice would you have for people looking to become educators? Looking to become educators or who are still early on in their career as teachers?
All right. Best advice for me, and this was shared with me several years ago by a friend of mine who is a former Marine. And, he said that this is what they shared, I guess, as their kind of one of their mottos or sayings was improvise, adapt, and overcome. Those three things have been what have helped me be where I'm at today and to continue to improve myself as an educator and as an education professional. And pretty much I apply that to anything in my life. To have the ability to improvise, number one, you have, like you mentioned, curriculum. You may not have, let's say, the appropriate curriculum, or maybe the curriculum that would provide a learning or a better learning or in-depth learning experience for your students. So sometimes you'll have to improvise and maybe, either think of something quick, find something, do a resource, whatever it may be. And to note also that although you may plan that amazing lesson, something will always or may go wrong. So just have the ability to improvise and change that up real quick. That goes also with adapting, adapt to the room. If your room isn't receiving that lesson or learning experience the way you thought it was going to be, then adapt it and just go with it. Feel the room out and let the students, don't be afraid to let the students give you that feedback. Think about this. Oftentimes we don't think of that our students are education experts, but they've seen anywhere 3 to 2 teachers per year every year. So they know, and they can distinguish between teacher, and quality and so on. So it's okay to accept that feedback. And then, of course, overcome. Be able to, like we said, sometimes things will come your way that you're not able to control, but to just simply do the best you can to overcome those things and based on what you can control. So those would be my 3 things that, as far as giving advice to any teacher at any level.
Perfect.
Good answer.
All right, Chad, your turn.
All right. So since Brett stole one off our actual cheat sheet, you get a pass since it's so early out on the West Coast, and you're I'm assuming you haven't had enough coffee.
I haven't had any yet.
Oh, bless your soul, sir.
Bless my soul.
All right. So my question. All right. So for people completely outside of education that aren't looking to go into education, so the parent, the politician, the person watching the news, I'll just leave it there. They're getting a mixed message depending on which echo chamber they're a part of. As a person inside the education world, what's the message in a bottle for them? The last vestige of hope, the one thing you want them to know.
For parents?
For anybody who's completely outside of education that's being told what's going on in education. They're getting an incorrect message about what is really the state of education. So you have the chance to set it straight with just one message. Here you go.
All right. My message would be, what would it be? I don't know, man. I want to say so much, but I'm just trying to see what I can say. But for me, okay. So for myself personally, I don't know if this is kind of answering your question, but I would just say it's just, visit a campus, see what's happening, visit a campus. And obviously if you're a parent and you're a stakeholder there, visit a campus and see what's happening, how, your teachers and so on and everything, and really see if what is on the news is really happening, because sometimes the news really does put a big spin on a lot, and I mean a lot of those things, because obviously they're in the mood, they need to sell, those stories, so they add a lot of stuff to it. But I just really say, just if you are a parent, get connected with your community. But I'm also going to speak on the other side too, which as educators or as a district, we need to do a better job, I think, as far as connecting with our learning community, and that includes parents. So we need to make sure that we sell parents on what we are doing and what we can offer their students, their children, but also parents to feel invited and, have an inviting environment for them to come in at any time and just say, hey, you know what, I love what is going on here, and see the positive side of those things. So as much as this media spins it the other way, as districts, we need to make sure we spin those positive news stories and put ourselves out there. We really need to do that a lot better. And again, that would be my message there. I would say, just do your research and visit if you can. If you can't, and if you're not a stakeholder in education, really, really, really do your research, because you always hear things from both sides. So, have an open mind. It might change your perspective, but yeah.
Yeah, well, threw you a curveball and you knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
you hung it a little bit.
I did. I tried it to, going back to improvise, adapt, and overcome. You just never know what might come that way, but I can see it both ways. But hopefully that answer would suffice if I was ever to be on your show, maybe sometime.
Was
soon.
that a plug?
Hint received.
Hint taken down. Brett is taking notes. All right.
Well, gentlemen, Chad, Brett, like I said, it has been an honor and a pleasure, and just to hang out with just some great creators, educators, passionate individuals such as yourselves that are lighthearted but serious at the same time, and have great intentions for, again, allowing us and inspiring us to reclaim our joy and our passion for education. And I love that. I love your message. So, Brett, Chad, first of all, Brett, where can our audience members connect with you, follow you? Go ahead and plug away, my friend.
All right, so it's the_Mr. Colley on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. Feel free. I just got my Twitter started not that long ago, and my Instagram is the same. But come join the ride with me, and let's have some fun. I mean, that's what I'm going for.
All right, that flare pen ride.
Absolutely.
All right, and Chad, where can our audience members connect with you?
All right, so you can search Chad Pettit on just about any social media platform. It's that teacher guy, or you can do Chad Pettit. Chad_Pettit1 on Instagram and Twitter. Just kind of getting those going too. But yeah, that's primarily where I hang out.
All right. And Chad, where can we find your podcast, the Education Reclaimed podcast?
All right. So you can watch it live, not live, but you can watch it on YouTube. You can also go to our website, educationreclaimed.com, but you can find it on any podcast player that's out there. So Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're out there. And Brett handles the social stuff.
I try.
Excellent. Well, guys, make sure that you check out Education Reclaimed. You've got these amazing gentlemen, amazing podcast hosts, Chad Pettit. We've got Brett Colley here. And again, as always, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you both. And I'll always add this, like, your beards are just amazing. Like, I really wish I could grow those beards. Now, how do you get them so shiny and so proper? Is there something that you guys use?
I mean, yeah, it's in my, but we use beard oil.
Oh, okay.
Very organic beard oil.
All
Good
right.
stuff. It's I mean, you're using Live Bearded now, right?
Oh yeah.
Livebearded.com. Amazing company out of Arizona. They do fantastic work. Just a small group of guys who have even more luscious, glorious beards. They could win beard competitions with some of the face mains that I see over there, and they make really good quality product. I love it. I mean, the scent profiles of everything is great, and it's no greasy feeling or anything that I've gotten in the past from sometimes. So I love it.
Really high quality. And any of your listeners that are
Bearded?
trying to tame their beards or grow one, they have sample packs for just $10, and they send you all their scent palettes, and it's really good stuff. These guys take care of you out at Live Bearded.
Excellent. Well, hey, I just wanted to let you guys plug that in because as well, like, I mean, I know they're a big part of your show and they're a big part of who you are as well. So again, as always, you know, this is a place, you know, you guys always have an open spot to come back, and hopefully you guys will be back at any time. You guys as being podcast guests, for Chad, second time, Brett, you know, first timer here. Anybody who's ever been a guest on the show always has an open invite to come back. So any projects that you're doing, whether it's as a team or personal or just something that you just say, hey, you know what, I really want to get this out there, feel free to reach out at any time. You are now officially part of my PLF, my personal learning family, and it is an honor and a pleasure to have you here. And as always, to all of our viewers, listeners, anybody that is out there watching that follows us, please make sure you go to our website, myedtech.life, and you can check out this episode and all our previous episodes, where I promise that you will find some nice golden nuggets of knowledge that you can sprinkle on to what you are already doing great in your classroom. Find some inspiration or connect with amazing and inspiring educators such as such as Chad and Brett that are here this morning. Please make sure you drop us a line, drop us a review, give us some feedback. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, how we can improve, because our mission and vision is to always bring you the best each and every time. And also don't forget to visit our merch store where you can go ahead and get some sweet merch. We've got some nice caps, shirts, and so on. And that goes to, as always, just contributing to the mission and vision of connecting all educators, you know, from anywhere in the world. So thank you for all of your support as always. And my friends, until next time, don't forget, just like the sign says up here, stay techie. We'll check you all next time.